Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with it another intense round of racing in the iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. The series hosted on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing and proudly sponsored by none other than CONSPIT. And here we are today then for another strength filled race. It is Saturday evening and we are here in the 21:45 Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT or Universal Coordinate time slot, and it's time for us to see our drivers take on week 6 of 12 in the 2026 Season 1 campaign. But where are we exactly today? Well, we have made our way back to the US of A and we are here in the state of Georgia for the one and only rollercoaster rider road racing. It is of course none other than the Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta. 2.54 miles in length and carrying through its course what is 12 quarters. On paper at least it sounds to be short, sweet and simple. But belying all that, as you can see the pictures in the background, we have several major elevation changes and they run to and fro and all the way through the course, and when you add it all together it makes it a circuit that is absolutely unrelenting in the test it presents to drivers. For our drivers to do well here, they've got to be absolutely on the limit, but on the limit is where mistakes are made and legends are also made. And who exactly will fall into which category today? Well, that's what we're here to find out. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in on YouTube tonight. If you search for YouTube, none other than what is Porsche Productions or PWP, you can be tuning in there and catching all the racing action week in and week out as it unfolds in our regular strength-filled race. In the content if you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh and I'll be bringing you all your racing action as we bring our through week number 6. And in terms of our schedule for tonight, well, we've only got one item on the calendar, and that is going to be a 19-lap race due to get underway in approximately 3.5 minutes' time. So as we make our way into this week, well, let's give you a recap of the story so far and what we've got lying in wait. Because as we can see, we continue our way through the schedule. Last time out, we were in France at the circuit's 24-hour de Bon, and there we saw on the 17th of January, absolute cinema, no doubt about it in terms of the battles that played out, but there could only be one winner in the end, and it was none other than Keanu Leotold, who took home win, indeed, in what was a race that was absolutely brilliant from him, and he was kept honest by Edoardo Cavalcanti for the majority of the race, before he started to open up a gap. Cavalcanti, meanwhile, took home second place, and, well, he was under gradual pressure from Joel Marquardt in the closing laps. However, he held on for that deserved second, was Marquardt had to bring home third place, having worked very well with his fellow German countryman of Jan Still, with the two of them trying to make their way onto the steps of the podium. But will we see them here today? Maybe we will, maybe we will not, because of course, with the fact there is, of course, the weekend of the real-life Daytona 24-hour race, or the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, it does mean that for many of our competitors who may have stayed away to watch that, well, it opens up a door for plenty of fresh faces, and we have got a lot of fresh drivers on the grid today, and we look forward to seeing how they get underway. But in terms of what lies after today, of course, we make our way to Italy for the Autodromo Nacional Monza, and that'll be in week number 7 in a week's time. Now, how do the standings stand there in the Division 1 official championship coming into this week of racing? Well, as we can see, Oscar Bernson is now starting to open up a gap at the very top, but we do have Joel Marquardt in second place behind him, having just leapt ahead of Aaron Jones, and from your top 3, it's then Isaac Phelps in 4th place, but only in 4th there by the best tune of what is 25 points ahead of Hayden Omamasi, and then outside that top 5, it's Igor Koz, Liam McNeely, Lucas DePac, Thomas Ronhart, and Olivia Piatek. But that's how the standings stand there in terms of your top 10, and as we talk about our circuit for today, well, of course, it's the full layout of Road Atlanta, 2.54 miles in length for 4.08 kilometres and 12 turns, but a two-dimensional circuit map, and a big thank you to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but also the fantastic track map that comes with it. The two-dimensional circuit map does not bring to life all the elevation changes that we'll see our drivers have to romp and roll their way through and have to tackle lap after lap. But these 12 quarters, meanwhile, they are really enshrined in history, with this circuit having extensive motorsport in history, being a regular host of racing not just on a domestic or a national level, but on the international stage, and that's why we all love Road Atlanta. And a quick reminder of the rules before we do go racing. This is the open setup version of the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT series, where our drivers bring a setup of their choosing to each and every session. The grid will be set via a closed qualifying session, which is currently ongoing, but due to come to a close very shortly, and then we'll see the race commence by a standing start as a tradition of Porsche Cup racing. As for instant points, should our drivers get to 17 instant points, they'll pick up a drive-through penalty. Get to 25, they may just be disqualified, but hopefully we don't see that today as we make our way back to circuit side. And well, we're not too far away then from going into what will be our gridding procedure. We are only 2 minutes or so away, and well, right now we are waiting for the last couple of drivers to get themselves set in this qualifying session. They have the flying lap, plus also the out lap I should say, plus 2 flying laps. They get them in the wrong order, but brains in the right place, and as we do see Ben Holiday make his way across the line, well, I do believe everyone has now got their valid laps on the board, minus Aaron Jones, who is yet to take part in this qualifying session, and he's the man we're waiting on, but he may be starting 25th at this rate. But as we look to Daniel Krasowski, he's new to the grid, and welcome to him for his first Street Fulfilled race, and we're very happy to see him here, as we are to so many new faces today. Well, plenty of new faces. This may just open up more opportunities for some who would love to be at the front of the field, and they may just get their chance here. But with regards to our Strength Fulfilled, and it's 4,270, and we'll bring you up the license details of our drivers there on what's the left-hand side of your screen, so that way you can see all the relative I ratings of the drivers. And in terms of your number 1 and number 2 drivers, well, they are currently going to be on that front row of the grid, albeit they're in the opposite order of each other. Well, your number 2 driver of Raul Ontananon, he will be lined up in pole position 400ths faster than your highest rated driver in here at 9.1 thousand I rating, and that will be Gabriel Moretto. But you've also got some big names alongside them, and just a bit further down, including Moritz Weber, who starts in 3rd, despite only having 3,500 I rating, and he will be looking to see whether he can put one over the front row drivers, and he'll be in the company of none other than Lucas Martinez. Well, the celebrities in the Porsche Cup community, and will understandably, I believe Martinez will be looking to try and push onwards from that 4th place start. But as we hide the racing license details there, we don't always need them on screen. Well, ladies and gents, we're only 40 seconds away from going green flag racing, and once everybody gets themselves set and ready to go, well, of course, this is going to be an exciting one, no doubt about it. And if you're not feeling too shy, feel free to say hi in the YouTube chat, because it's always great to see so many of you tune in, week out, because we are now almost ready to make our way to the grid. As we continue to look at Daniel Krasowski's car, making its way on around. Understandably here, Krasowski keeping us entertained whilst everyone else is in the pit lane, and we're very appreciative to him. But as we see him now make his way onto another lap, we'll not complete this one, because in 10 seconds' time, he will be required to make his way back into the pit lane. And as he does so, well, at that point, we are going to be green flag racing. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we look to the scenic view. It is time to head to the grid for our Week 6 Street Fulfilled race here in the 2026 Season 1 iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. And as they make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for what will be our one and only race today. On pole position, it is going to be none other than what will be their Raul Ontananon. And then he'll be joined on the front row of the grid, the Spaniard, by what will be a Gabriel Moretto. The Italian driver will then be followed up on row number 2 by Moritz Weber and also Lucas Martinez. From the German, the Argentine, will then have Amel Kekanovic. The Austrian driver there starting well on the 3rd row of the grid, ahead of Nicolas Dev. From the Bulgarian driver, it'll then be to the Brazilian there of Ricardo Rui, ahead of Levi Martikanian. And then we have on the final row of the top 10, none other than Jacobus Vasiaukakas, ahead of Ruslan Aliyev. Outside that top 10, in 11th place, it is going to be Thomas Calvila, ahead of Alan Rask. And then on row number 7, we have Alexander Kamper, ahead of Bartek Danielski. And then we have on row number 8, David Rankin, who makes his debut today, ahead of Jacob Bilal. And then on row number 9, it'll be Ville Ayerson, ahead of Ben Holiday, with your top 20 completed by Yannick Hilber and Andreas Meyer. Outside the top 20, starting 21st, it is going to be Maximilian Durr, and he will be ahead of what will be there, Daniel Krasowski. And then we have on the final full row of the grid, Pin Van Diemen, ahead of Igor Kukovic. And then last but not least, with no qualifying lap set, it's going to be Aaron Jones, who has it all to do from the back of the field. If he does make his way to the grid, I wonder if there's a technical issue with the car, but if so, we may be down to 24 cars before we have gone green flag racing. And at your grid, as it's all set, ladies and gentlemen, we are just waiting for the last couple of cars to get themselves into position. But once they do, 19 laps of race await us. Well, I can tell you one thing, this is going to be absolutely relentless. These laps will fly on by as quickly as you can say go, go, go each time. And well, the last couple of cars are getting into their spots at the back of the grid. And we're 15 seconds left. The tension is palpable. You could cut it with a knife, but here we go tonight. So it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's firing lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for our Week 6 Street Fulfilled race here at Road Atlanta. It's a good start for our pole sitter, but Moretto's even quicker as they make the way up towards turn number 1. Weber is tucking in behind, and Martinez as well. But as they battle under the braking here, what will we see? And in the end, Lucas Martinez there, taking it safe as they head up the rise for the first time into the blind braking zone of turns 2 and 3. And this is where things could get very tricky under braking, as we can see Kekanovic getting involved. But as the field scatters its wound down, 2 by 2 by 2, as they all come through, the battling further down the field. Absolutely glorious to see as they make their way to the S's Benz. ends, but everybody is safely on through the opening few corners, albeit I believe Alexander Camper may have got it slightly wrong. He's onto the grass, somebody rejoins, and suddenly all the drama kicks off immediately. We've got a couple of cars with yellow flags. Car around there, that's Jacob Valil, who's got around coming out to turn number 5. He's ends up hidden by the tree line. We'll come back to him shortly, but meanwhile at the front of the field, well, Gabriel Moretto started second, into lead already, showing that experience being our number 1 driver, and Rout Montanon, well, he's now trying to follow on here as they make the way down the backstretch. And this is going to be the first of 19 times here, and right now the game is going to be to try and break away from Moretto, but it's going to be much easier said than done here today, as Lucas Martinez right now right behind your third place man on Ritz Weber, and he'll be getting ready to look round the outside, but not to be, as Weber goes defensive there. But further back we do have Calvela versus Martikanian, and well, 2 wide they come through the chicane, and Calvela right now being elbowed slightly down there as Leroy Martikanian makes the move happen, and Alan Ras looks for a move in turn, and Ras is going to find it as Ruslan Aliyev now in 11th place thinks, could I get a bit more involved? There's a bit of grass chomping there from what was the lead car of the group of Martikanian, but in towards lap number 2 they go, and up the rise, and Moritz Weber battling side by side with Martinez, and Weber goes a bit deep there at 1, and Martinez moves on forward, or does he? No, he does not. That was Lucas Martinez actually going wide there. I do apologise, and Weber right now holding on in the white and pink machine as he makes his way in towards the S's, but goodness me, that's a compromise line. He's really struggling here to keep it together and keep Martinez behind him. That pressure is huge as they make the way towards turn 6. There comes Martinez looking up the inside. Surely it's going to be a question of when or if he can go for the move now, and he's going to try it towards the right-hander, and in the end there's a little bit of snap on there on the front end of Weber's car. He went to turn in and realised Martinez was not going to back out, and Weber in the end had to reopen the steering wheel there when he wanted to turn in, and Weber falling backwards now as they make the way down the back stretch. But further back, Ruslan Aliyev and Jacobus Vatsikalkas, well, these two continue to push each other onwards, and the fighting is definitely building and building and building here as they head down towards the next braking zone. But will there be any changes afoot? We'll see now as they get ready to go to the anchors. All the ABS will be locking up as much as possible here, or be used as much as possible, I should say. And we're in there, Calvela holding Aliyev behind, as Vatsikalkas right now stuck in the battle. But as he looks up the inside into turn 11, he's going to find his way through, and Aliyev will drop not just 1 but 2. Here comes Holiday on the inside of him, and across that timeline he goes. Now Holiday up into 12th place here, as we can see Bartek Danielski. Well, he falls behind Aliyev, who goes defensive on the run in towards turn number 1. But is it all for naught? And the answer may just be yes here as they look to swap. Oh! There's contact there, and Bartek Danielski's into the barrier as the car rolls its way along the grass. But then he gets it under control and stays off the racing line as he makes his way back into the racing in towards the S's here. But that's going to be a car that's heavily wounded, and there goes the bonnet, comes flying off, and suddenly for Danielski, this is going to be a trip to the pits coming in this lap as he comes out ahead of Igor Kukovic as he rejoins the racing, but Kukovic here will surely make his way past the wounded car. And well, meanwhile, we look all the way back towards the very front of the field, and Gabriel Moretto right now trying to run away. Gap is now 7 tenths here as they make the way down the stretch, and well, as he does so, on there staying with him, but look at Lucas Martinez, a second behind. He is closing little by little. He is pushing to try and catch up to this group. Now that he's past Moritz Weber, I think at this point, well, it's now about whether Martinez can catch up and how soon he can. Meanwhile, in the fight for what is 4th place, Stanev on the back of Weber here, coming up the hill, and we see the number 4 driver here in the very colourful livery machine, thinking about an opportunity as we jump aboard with him. And well, he's had a good start to this race, no doubt about it. We're coming out to turn 1, now onto another lap here. Well, the laps are building, and Tyre Life is now starting to get his prime as he dives up the inside over to the opening corner. A bit of contact, and in the end, Moritz Weber's going to be sent to the grass. And well, that's going to cost him time. He rejoins, however, without making his way to the wall. And well, elbows out there between drives, no doubt about it. But we're coming down the hill right now. Moritz Weber down to 8th place here. He's been bruised, he's been beaten, but he's not been broken in the number 22. And he's going to be hoping now that he can make a bit more progress as Ben Holiday, meanwhile, a bit further back in the number 14. He's all over the back of Vatsikalkias right now as he heads up towards turn number 6. And he'll be thinking, okay, how do I get involved versus the Team Redline machine? And the answer is going to be, well, patience is a virtue, because of the simple reason, if he battles with Vatsikalkias right now, then he will lose out to Thomas Calvela, who's a little bit further up the road, but the gap will suddenly double, if not triple, and he will lose that toe. Building up speed here, heading down towards turn number 10 again. The chicane was introduced in the 90s in order to reduce the approach speed to what is now called turn number 11. It used to be flat out into 11 off the back of this straight, and they had to brake for the corner essentially. But right now, Holiday looking one way, then the other. He's going to look to the inside there. Vatsikalkias goes defensive, and when I think he decided, you know what, if Holiday wants it that much, I'm going to give it to him, because otherwise we're just wasting time here. And the Apogee Motorsport machine right now takes a place, and understandably, Vatsikalkias will be hoping that he can get back at the man later on in this race, but we will see is Ruslan Aliyev, the man who fell a long way down the order early on. He's in 13th now, and he'll be hoping that he might be able to get involved in this a little bit more. Up the rise they go, and as we look to your leader, Gabriel Moreto, for all the initial lead he was able to build, Raul Antonon now has caught up to him, and Martinez is 1.1 seconds back, but wants to try and get involved in this. We'll have to wait to see if he can, as they hop and skip their way, coming out of turn number 5. The cars are bouncing around here, but goodness me, what a run it is. But going in towards turn number 6 there, and we do say hello there to Osman Quinaz, and also to Nick Tebek and RP Corp, and I do apologise, RP Corp, the bot there does decide to try to remove your message. I think that we need to change the settings on it. It's a bit overly censored at the moment, but we know you're there. We know you're enjoying yourself and happy to have you here. But as all our drivers in the mid-pack, meanwhile, towards the bottom end of the top 10, make the way out to turn 6 and 7 right now. Well, the fighting is getting fiercer and fiercer. And, well, we can see Ritz Weber, Calvila and Holiday. They've lost what is Alan Rask in front of them. The Norwegian driver has started to bolt away. But now here comes what will be Weber and Calvila, and well, it's going to be Holiday up the inside. Oh, well, he goes all in, and then he saw the door was open, but the door's not quite closed, and in the end, Holiday gets shafted out on the wide. Oh my goodness, the car's up into the air there as they come over the rise of turn number 11, and well, it's drama at the rise of the corner. Looks completely blind at the summit. We're going to need to get a replay of that, but it's not over yet. Suddenly, this has caused the whole field to erupt, and well, Moritz Weber battling with Vatsikalkius right now. Well, Vatsikalkius all over the back of the white and pink machine, but Ritz Weber here has been forced down, and well, goodness me, right now it does seem as though for Ritz Weber it is proving to be an absolutely challenging race. He's finding himself under as much pressure from behind as he is in the pressure of chasing down the guys in front of him. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we take a look back at some of the big moments in the opening third of this race, starting on lap number 1 for Alexander Camper. What happened to him? Now, this was Camper battling side by side in towards the SS sequence. We looked to other more distant cameras, and as he made his way on down here, well, a small tap to the side of the car sent him to the grass, and in the end he came back across the road, and unfortunately one driver took a bit of evasive action. That was the number 10 there of David Rankin. Unfortunately, had to hit the wall, and that explains what happened to them. Bartek Danetsky was also involved in that one. Meanwhile, we had this for Pim van Diemen. I think he was also involved in this. This was the on-board with your number 25 driver. He came down the hill. He's going to see it all go wrong in front of him. He's got to pick a place to go, and he decides, actually, you know what, it's probably better just to take a rallycross approach here. But that was not slow. In 4th gear at about 100 miles an hour, car went spinning across the road in front of him as well, and well, that was an near miss. That was Jacob Balil who went loose. This was the on-board with Jacob Balil. He just avoided the first instant into turn 5, compromised line and cold tyres, took a plenty of apex curb, and in the end the rear right tyre never settled down. The weight of the car was swinging around like a pendulum at the rear, and that sent him to spin into the tyre barrier. But with that, we then come back to what happened on lap number 2, and this was a huge incident for Yannick Hilber. And this was Hilbert making his way over the rise at turn 11 in towards 12. And what exactly went wrong here in the Rolex machine? That's dedicated to the Rolex Daytona 24. And as he made his way out the corner, ran out wide, and in the end it was just a brief trip to the grass there. So not as much drama as we thought, perhaps. But we then had Ritz Weber's moment here on lap number 4. And this was his battle at the time with none other than Jacobus Vatsikalkius, I do believe. In fact, no, it was not. That was a move there being made on him by none other than what was Amel Kakanovic, and it sent Weber out wide. And in the end, as he made his way back on the road, in fact, that was Nicholas Stanev who made that move. We'll get ourselves corrected there, and we'll Weber dropping on down the order. But then we had this big moment for Levi Martikanian, and this was coming in towards turn number 5 on lap number 5. Made his way through the left-hander at the number 24, took a lot of exit curb, bounced the car once, bounced it twice, it pogoed around on the suspension as they're nicknaming it, and as he rolled into the barrier, the car stuck in the middle of the road and immediately towed to the pits when he could. Well, that happened to him, and this happened to Ville Eriksen, and indeed several drivers here going through turn number 5. It was a dramatic moment, and well, the cameras will tell you half the story. Well, somebody got it wrong in front, and in the end, well, that was where it all went wrong for none other than Ben Holiday, who was really, oh my good lord, the car stuck in the barrier there. I've never seen that. And, well, the car being pulled back to the barrier there. And, well, this was Ben Holiday, who was right at the epicenter of it all after contact with Moritz Weber, got the car back together, and in the end, everyone queued up behind. And suddenly, it was a big prang for everybody involved, and it all went very much wrong. But back to your live pictures we come. Now, as we do, on to lap number 8, and as all the drivers make their way onwards, well, right now we come back to the thick of the fighting. With Moritz Weber trying to keep Vatsikalkius behind him still, and Andreas Meyer is on the back of here. They're all queued up, and Weber trying to hold on for dear life here on your live pictures. Understandably, the number 22 driver here bobbing and weaving one way, then the other. And right now, understandably, I think feeling so much mental pressure, he just wants to get rid of the cars behind. He wants to break the toe. He wants anything to be safe. And right now, Vatsikalkius is saying to him, I am inevitable. well. And, well, going defensive here is Webber in the middle of the road, and the guys behind will queue up here. There's going to be no way through. And if Webber has to drag the car between the apex and the chicane, so be it, he says, because that's the way he's going to stop them from making progress and force them to fight each other instead. And, well, Daniel Kozlowski right now in the all-red machine here, you can see the body language of his car. He's itching to fight. However, I think he's so eager to do so, he's close up a bit too close to Mayer straight away, and that'll bring Maximilian Durr into the fight as well. But from then, we come all the way back to the front of the field. There's battles going on left, right and centre, as Gabriel Moreto makes his way out of turn number 5, and as he does so, well, Rel Anatonon is right there behind him, and so is Lucas Martinez, but Martinez is still 1.2 seconds back, has not quite closed up. Then we have Nicholas Stanev, who's gone through the bottom of the camera, ahead of Amel Kekanovic, and then it's Ricardo Rui ahead of Alan Rask. That's going to be your top 7, with Thomas Calvila in 8th place, a bit of a lonely one at the moment, and then we have Moritz Weber ahead of Jacobus Vasikaukias, who completes your top 10, with Andreas Mayer being the 11th place man in the equation at the moment. So the battles inside the top 10, there are 3 major ones at the moment for places, and therefore, understandably, it is going to be one of the situations whereby I think he tries right now, they're settling down for a little bit, but as we get closer to what will be the final third of this race, I think we are going to see the battling start to commence once again, as Ricardo Rui there looking for the move and then decided not to go for it versus Amel Kekanovic. And, well, if I've seen indecision in the car before, that is Ricardo Rui defining it there. And in fact, I think he wanted to go for the move, then he decided not to, then he decided to go for it. His head and his heart have got 2 different ideas. They are worlds apart, but right now Alan Rask is watching this, and I think looking at his lips thinking, okay, if the Brazilian driver in front of me can't decide what to do, I might be able to capitalise on this. The only problem for Rask as he makes his way over the hill is that when you have an indecisive driver in front, it's as much a risk as it is going to be a potential reward in trying to fight with them, because at any moment where he might look for a move on Kekanovic, and actually Rask coming down through turns 2, 3 and 4 there took a lot of apex curve at 3, and that's caused him to have to slow down a little bit. But by giving himself more space to the cars in front, actually he might have just helped himself a little bit here. He might have bought himself some breathing room to work with later on in the race, because he'll just be able to see what is going on between these drivers, and that may definitely help him. But we'll see what Rask can do here as he gets a bit closer again. The low-speed exits of his car, definitely one of his strengths here today with the way he's got the car set up. We're in an open setup series. We can expect a lot of our drivers to run very similar setups to each other, but understandably there will be minute differences between them, particularly with the amount of rear wing they run, and also things such as the electronics package they're running, the settings, and also things such as what will be the roll bars and also the ride heights. They will slightly tweak them just to suit driver preference. Of course, the fact the Road Atlanta circuit is a circuit where you do want a lot of downforce on the car. These Porsche Cup cars have a massive rear wing, but otherwise they have very little in the form of what is racing aero as such, but that wing is worth a lot in racing time, and they will have those rear wings cranked up as much as possible as Rask cranks out the inside there of what he really looks like a potential move, but it's not going to quite come together right now. But you can definitely tell he's now starting to think, right, you know what, I might just be able to beat the man in front of me, I've just got to put some pressure on him. But you have to do so soon, because the Belgian driver here of Calvila is getting closer, and, well, as he roars his way down the hill, 1.3 seconds back, I think he sees it's his time to potentially strike. Will he be able to make it work? As meanwhile, your leaders, well, your top 3 are getting closer together here. We are seeing the top 2. They are still exactly where they were, although Lucas Martinez, for all the run he had through turns 1 through to 5, turns 6 and 7, he suddenly lost 3 tenths. So it looks like low-speed corners may be the third place man's difficulty. The man from Argentina right now making his way onwards, and I think he'll be hoping then he might just be able to creep a little bit closer before this is all said and done. That may not be as easy as it sounds. Looking back through the field, well, we do have Andreas Mayer there, who seems to be appearing and disappearing, so I think there might be a bit of a connectivity issue for him, and hopefully that's not a sign of an engine breakdown that's to come. Normally it can be the sign of an upcoming retirement when they are blinking in and out of existence, but hopefully not so. We won't let that detract from the brilliant racing that's going on here. All these drivers right now definitely staying right at the thick of the fighting, no doubt about it, and at any moment this could build up even more. But at the front, Gabriel Moreto onto lap number 12 now, with Antonon behind him, closing still. Martinez there, you can see the way the car's angled as he makes his way down the hill. We ride aboard the dashboard here of the number 3 driver. He's really got this opening section of the lap hooked up by comparison to the 2 in front. This is his strongest part of the lap. Meanwhile, the second half of the lap is where he seems to just be that little bit weaker. So at this point, almost turn 6, he just doesn't have as much confidence, which is odd when you consider that this right-hander is the similar corner to, say, turn number number what is 4 in the way it's built up in the apex speed, albeit it's because it's a cambered corner versus an off-camber corner earlier on. And Martinez seems to be much happier with the off-camber corners rather than those that are cambered. He could just exploit them that bit more, and the low-speed apex at turn number 7, he just doesn't have the traction on the rear end of the car, and that's why the gap reopens. Also, you've got to consider that Onton on there, the Spaniard, does have the direct slipstream off of Moretto, but then again, if Moreto's going as quick as Onton is able to stay with him, that's a sign that these two have an edge a little bit later in the lap compared to the man behind. But they now head into the final third of the race, and from them, we look back to the fight for what is 5th, and here it is, a three-way battle with a fourth driver trying to get involved in the mix, but we've got to leave them for a brief moment, so we just had a change of position for the 16th. That's Alexander Kamper ahead of Igor Kukovic. He's just made the move happen in the number 21. And Kukovic having a poor run coming out of turn number 7, and Cameron in the draft was never going to let that one go. So they change places. Ooh, hold up a second. Somebody's into the grass here at turn number 1, and that's Ricardo Rui going out wide there. Now, was he aided on his adventure, or was that a mistake there? An instant one of that. Well, the car's all over the place right now. He's trying to get it settled back down, but suddenly he will fall back into the fight for what is 8th now through to 13th. And indeed, it's Moritz Weber who's closed up to him very rapidly. And remember, these two exchanged some battle scars earlier on. But we've got a replay as to what happened to the Brazilian driver, and here it is. So coming out to turn number 1, this was a building move from none other than Moritz Weber, and well, into the braking zone he went. We're not Moritz Weber, my apologies, that was Alan Rask, and Rask get in, looked to the move, tapped what was really on the rear by looks things, and Rask found his way on through. Can we get the on board for that move? I think we might be able to. So this was Rask coming on close, let's listen in. And switched the inside. He tried to go for the send switchback, but unfortunately, Raskin and tap in the rear of Ree, and that's going to be the story there. I think that's pretty much slam and dunk with regards to what's happened between the two of them. Although I don't think Alan Rask meant to do it, to be fair. I think it's one of those unfortunate things that happens. We are racing that close to each other, and when you are converging to a braking zone at speeds in excess of 145 miles an hour, it will happen every so often. I'm sure they'll talk about it after the race, but still more to come as we're back to your live pictures. And right now, well, Ree can't think about what's happened. All he's got to think about is what he can do at this point onwards, and now he needs to try and hold on to 8th, but Weber and Mayer are right there with Krasowski a little bit further back. He's fallen away from Andreas Mayer. His best arrest right now is your number 5 driver, the one who kept us entertaining qualifying when the circuit could have gone silent. As he makes way down, well, right now his race has fallen a little bit silent. He rips and tears his way through those apexes in the S's. You can see there behind Durr and Vatikalkius right now. They're also looking quite close together, as Maximilian Durr does have a knight on the side of the car here. And well, I don't know if he is a Sir, but I can tell you one thing. Right now, he's definitely trying to prance his way forward there on horseback, albeit with the best part of the tune of a 515 brake horsepower in the rear of that car. And well, his Porsche 992.2 is no different from any of the others, but that livery definitely stands out there and makes a story out of it. Meanwhile, we look from him back to Kekanovic as he fights with Rask. Rask now has been unleashed onto the world after finding his way past Ricardo Rui. He's going to try and go around the outside here for what will be 5th place. And Kekanovic defends the inside. Now it's the outside here as the corners switch in direction. And Rask will take the place here. Classic move there, but a switchback from Kekanovic over the rise of 11 in towards 12. They're going to be too wide for the apex here. Oh, the final corner on to now lap number 15. 5 more to go between these two, and Calvila is being brought right back into this fight as a result. They go too wide up the hill now. Small bit of contact there, but Kekanovic, to be fair, small rub, not much of a difference between them as Calvila now gets involved as well. Over the rise they come and down. And well, at the end, they're going to have to go line astern for a moment. But goodness me, that goes to show you can go too wide through most of the corners here. And when you do, it leads to absolute brilliant battling. Meanwhile, too wide into the S's they go. Surely someone's got back out here. And that's going to be Andreas Mayer gets ahead of Ricardo Rui. Finds his way through in the end. Exit turn number 4 into the S's. And Rui in the end decides to back out, realising that 2 does not go into 1 there. And well, they survived that. My good lord, my heart was almost coming out of my mouth there for the simple reason they were going to go too wide through there. It would block everybody up, and that would require the patience of a saint from everyone to get through it safe. Back to the front of the field, meanwhile, and well, now we've only 5 laps to go. Here comes the move for the lead. This is going to be on the inside of Barretto. Barretto now to the insider into 10B, and well, as the cars bounce their way over the apexes, well, here we can now see Lucas Martinez closed up. Martinez has waited. He's on the inside for 2nd place here. Martinez picks up another one, or does he now as they get ready for turn of 1? I think he does, as Onton there has to back off. So suddenly Martinez sees the door is open and says, right, now is the time to go for attack here. 4 laps to go at Road Atlanta. Further back, Rask is still fighting with none other than Kekanovic. as they continue to fight over 5th place, and behind them Cavalier is now looking for a move on the inside here. It's going to be 2 by 1 as they come up the hill, and right now Rask just tries to lead them on. He wants them both to fight each other, he wants to break away, but Kekanovic is staying right with him. He is not letting go, and Emil Kekanovic right now, what can I say other than this is brilliant management of this battle. But for on, he's back at Lucas Martinez here into turn number 6. Martinez is a poor run out of turn number 5, and your leader Moretto is now 1.2 seconds clear as they come out of turn number 7. The gap has opened up. In fact, it's 1.1 seconds, but the point is, Antonon coming back at this point, he may have just bought Gabriel Moretto the lead of the race. You see Moretto immediately weaving down this back straight at least once. He can't do it twice, and as they head down, what he's trying to do here is break the draft and force these two to fight each other even more. And Route Antonon right now is going to oblige. He tries to stick his foot in it here to make sure second place is his. But as he does so, Lucas Martinez here looking one way than the other. He wants to get them through. Laps are running out. Time is of the essence. Further back in the fight for 5th place. This is still going on. This is by Nicholas Staniv. Time in 4th place just to walk away from this. But right now, Rask and Kekanovic, they're not concerned about 4th. Oh, a bit of contact between the two of them. And Calvino right now coming over the rise. Well, that contact to Kavanic's car. In the end, sees him go wide even more. He goes sliding. Oh, my good Lord. And the car rolls there on the grass and comes back onto the start-finish straight. No, it's an absolute disaster there. And certainly for Emil Kekanovic, it's a race that's gone from good to bad to nightmare. And my good Lord, for Emil Kekanovic, that's what happens when you battle side by side into turn number 12 at 120 miles an hour. And the tiniest of taps sent him to the grass. And in the end, that grass does not wait for anybody. And that's why the car went rolling in the end. He suddenly went sideways onto it. The car was slowed on the tyres on the left-hand side. And the right-hand side of the car still had a lot more speed and momentum to it. And that's why he went barrel rolling over the road and back onto the start finish straight. And my good Lord, well, I'll tell you one thing, this may be simulated, but I hope everyone's okay. And if they were using a direct drive force wheel, that hopefully everyone was able to get their hands away for it in time, because otherwise that would have been an absolute nightmare. But as we do say hello there to the real bottle job and also to Captain One, and we'll both of you there absolutely join at that moment there in absolute shock of what's happened. Well, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, this race isn't over yet. We may have had that may be our big event here today, but we still got 2 more laps to go here. And our top 3, they are separated by 1.5 seconds in total. They've all spaced out a little bit, but there might just be more in this one before it's said and done. As we look back to Ruslan Aliyev right now, and as he heads down, chasing after Igor Kukovic, well, he's going to look up the inside and try and make one move happen. He's going to get it nice. He stops on time, and Alexander Camper is right in front. And he'll be hoping that he might be able to chase down Camper for 13th place on what will be the penultimate lap, if not the final one. But we will see as we come past the site of the huge incident only moments to go. But whilst they're working it out, meanwhile, Alan Rask, he's now ahead of Thomas Calvila. And, well, of course, the incident which did see none other than Emil Kekanovic out of this. These two drivers right now just carrying on as Moritz Weber unfortunately got collected with the carnage of Emil Kekanovic's car. It was the one driver who got caught out there compared to nobody else, but we will see what is to come next. I don't think it's quite over yet in terms of the drama. I think we've got a little bit more to come as Andreas Mayer tries to hold him to 7th place, and now suddenly up into 8th place is Daniel Krasowski, who at one moment we're talking about the fact he was enjoying quite a silent race, and now he finds himself in 8th, having dodged what happened onto the start finish straight, and he's moved all the way out from 22nd to 8th place. Or sometimes all you got to do is just simply avoid the chaos around you, and you might be able to just make it happen. But one more lap to go, ladies and gentlemen. Here is Moretto leading ahead of Antonon and Lucas Martinez. They make the way up the hill. The gap between each car is 6 tenths from car to car. Nicholas Staniv, meanwhile, in 4th place, a lonely 4th place at that. Then we have Alan Rask in 5th at the moment, still being chased by Thomas Cavalier. And, well, the Belgian driver here staying with him and keeping him honest. It's 5 seconds back to Andreas Mayer, who right now has a long pack of cars behind him. The 7th place, number 9 car, head of Krasowski. Is none other than Vasikalkias and also Maximilian Durr. And, well, you can understand if all these drivers right now, they may be just exhausted running this pack. They've all had to be absolutely pinpoint precise lap after lap. As then we look back to none other than Alexander Kamper trying to keep Ruslan Aliyev behind him, and Kukovic just a little bit further back. But back to the front. That's a quick recap of the field. And right now for Gabriel Moretto, well, he is 7 tenths clear here and onto the back straight. I don't think Antonon's going to have an answer for him right now, other than just to try and stay honest and race it home for 2nd place here as Lucas Martinez. We enjoyed a brilliant battle with the Spaniard, but in the end, well, the Argentine driver had to find a way through. He did, only to have Antonon come immediately back at him. But through the chicane they come, ladies and gentlemen, and there's only 2 more corners as Moretto slides out of 10B, and over the crest he comes. He knows that it's 1 corner to victory, and just like that, Gabriel Moretto takes the win here in week number 6 of the 2026 Season 1 the Strength of Field Race Series ahead of Raul Antonon and Lucas Martinez. It will then be Nicholas Stanev who comes home in a lonely but a happy 4th place, ahead of Alan Rask, who is going to round off the top 5 there ahead of Thomas Calvier, and that will be a run to 6th there for the Belgian driver behind him, and Andreas Meyer leads the pack on through for 7th ahead of Daniel Kozlowski, Ricardo Rie and Jacobus Vasikaukas, who completes your top 10. Maximilian Durr will be the best the rest of the length ahead of Yannick Hilber, who comes home in 12th place, not able to get involved, and it will be Alexander Kamper in 13th place ahead of Ruslan Aliev, with Igor Kukovic in 15th ahead of David Rankin, and Pin Van Diemen in the end. Well, we may not see too much of him after what happened to him on the opening lap, but he still finishes the race on the lead lap. Good on him for doing so. He will take 17th. And as for Bartek Danielski, well, despite the fact that he did lose his bonnet right at the start of the race, it did come flying off. Well, he was 6 laps down, but he got the car repaired. And, well, that's great racing spirit being demonstrated by him there. The number 15 driver getting to the finish line. It doesn't matter if you finish on the lead lap or 6 laps down, get it to the finish and come home proud. And that's exactly what he's done as he parks up and calls the race complete. But my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, what a race, no doubt about it. And, well, there was drama, there was excitement, there was a little bit of everything here today. Road Atlanta always delivers, as RP Corp says there, and I'm inclined to agree, and indeed, you couldn't coin it any better, good sir. And, well, here are your race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see, after 19 laps of racing, it was none other than Gabriel Moretto who took the win from Italy, ahead of the Spaniard of Raul Antonon, who kept him honest every step of the way. But as they got closer, so did your 3rd place finisher of Lucas Martinez, who in another world may have been able to hold on to that 2nd place, but here today in this reality, he was not able to do so because Antonon immediately came back at him and asserted his authority. That was your top 3. Nicholas Stanev, meanwhile, 4th place in the end in the number 4. Quite poetic if you ask me, having started 6th. And in the end, the Bulgarian driver doing a brilliant job there to finish in a lonely 4th place, first off the podium, ahead of Alan Rask, who completed the top 5 there. The Norwegian driver in the end, in the number 8, not quite able to get onto the podium, but it'll definitely feel as though it was a win today with the fact he managed to hold off Thomas Cavalier, with the Belgian driver in the number 18 moving through the field quite happily from 11th to 6th. What a drive from him. Andreas Meyer took 7th place in the end, albeit the Austrian driver under pressure throughout the entirety of the race, but somehow he managed to hold on ahead of Daniel Kozlowski, who just snuck his way from 22nd to 8th over the distance, ahead of Ricardo Rie and the Rie Racing Esports driver, just ahead of Jacobus Vasikaukas, who in the end completed that top 10. Behind the American driver, it was best the rest driver of Maximilian Durr, and then it was Yannick Hilber ahead of Alexander Kamper, with Ruslan Aliev and Igor Kukovic round off that top 15. And behind the 2 Polish driver, it was then David Rankin in 16th place, ahead of Pin Van Diemen, who in the end was the last lead lap finisher. It was 3 laps down in the pit lane, sadly, both retirees but classified as finishers for Amel Kakanovic and also Moritz Weber after their huge incident towards the end of the race at turn number 12, and hopefully we don't see that again anytime soon. That was an absolute nightmare of an incident, no doubt about it. And we saw in 20th place there Bartek Danielski. He was 6 laps down, but he did make it to the finish. We also did see outside that top 20 Ben Holiday, and commiserations to him after his incident coming over the rise of turn number 11, which saw him and also Billy Ayerson and Levi Matikenian all caught up. And we also did have earlier retirements for what was Jacob Belil, and also to Aaron Jones, who was a non-starter in this one. He didn't make his way to the grid, nor in qualifying did he put in a lap. So 25 starters and a grand total of 20 finishers, albeit only 17 on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. And as quickly as it started, we have completed our time here at Road Atlanta for the Week 6 Strength of Field race. But my goodness, what a race it was. And as we get ready to wrap up, well, the only thing to do, of course, is to talk a little bit about our title sponsor for this series. Let's tell you a little bit more about CONSPIT. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider CONSPIT? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, CONSPIT offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, CONSPIT's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 AM Cup champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in CONSPIT's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we now turn our attentions to week number 7, because next week we embark into the second half of the 2026 Season 1 campaign, and playing host, well, it is a classic. We head to Italy for the Autodromo Nacional Monza, but also known as the Monza Grand Prix circuit. With extended straights and heavy braking zones, it is as raw as they come when it comes to a power circuit, and you can tune into all the racing action from our regular strength-filled race for week 7. It's due to get underway on Saturday the 31st of January 2026, so be there and don't miss out. But until then, we have been the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, and I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. You've been tuning into a Paul Walsh production, and until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.